Hello Horror Hounds, and welcome to the World Cup video that I never thought I'd be able to do. The Werewolf World Cup. The very simple reason being, regular viewers will know that I've been very vocal. I'm not shy about saying that American Werewolf in London is my favourite werewolf movie of all time, so it seemed little point doing a Werewolf World Cup when I knew in my head what the foregone conclusion would be. And leaving it out seemed to be cheating. But thanks and props to subscriber and commentator Superman is Best for suggesting it. He wanted a Werewolf World Cup, and something he said gave me an idea of how to do it. So this is slightly different to the normal format, but he said, well, maybe just leave American Werewolf out and let the others fight it out amongst themselves. And that was the spark of inspiration. That was all I needed. This Werewolf World Cup, we are not pitting the films against one another, we are pitting the werewolves against one another. So this does not guarantee an automatic win for American Werewolf in London. We've also got a grand slam of a tournament. Normally we start off with 8. This time around we are starting off with 4, 8, 12, three beginning groups. So the final will be a 3-way fight. But I'm not pitting the movies against one another. I'm pitting the werewolves themselves against one another. So there's a ton of them. I don't want the video to be too long. So let's start with Group A and see who goes head to head in Group A and who gets through. So the first bout sees the Underworld Werewolves versus the Howl Werewolves. And this is really interesting because these are both movies where it's not just a lone werewolf, they hunt in packs. We don't know too much about the werewolves from Howl. We don't know whether they're like that all the time or whether they transform on the full moon or what. We know that the werewolves from Underworld can transform at will, and we know that it takes an awful lot of weaponry to take them down. A vampire on their own is not enough. A vampire needs to be tooled up to take down a werewolf in this. Also, the wolves in this act much more like creatures in nature. There are strong ones and weak ones, and they seem to hang back even though they've got numbers on their side and wait to pick up the weaker prey or the elder prey. So in a head-to-head fight, the Underworld werewolves will win very easily. That's a quick bout. Second round in Group A, we'll see the Company of Wolves Werewolves versus oh dear, how am I going to do? The Beast Must Die Werewolves. Okay, very easy. I haven't looked at this for ages. I might have to do a video on The Beast Must Die because it's, if not only for the fact that it's the only movie that I'm aware of that has a werewolf break in it for the audience to guess who the werewolf is. If there are any other movies that have a werewolf break in it, please let me know because I'd love to see them. It's a device that, let's say it didn't catch on. So, given that the wolf in The Beast Must Die is essentially an Alsatian dog, and one of the many wolves in this is Stephen Ray tearing his own face off to let the wolf come out. I think the wolves from A Company of Wolves will beat the singular wolf from The Beast Must Die. Even the wolves, the pack of wolves at the end, which are a pack of Alsatians, I would suggest a pack of Alsatians could beat one Alsatian. Company of Wolves wins. Group B. First quarterfinal. Pits the wolf from Cursed against Ginger Snaps. Oh dear. Now, the eagle-eyed of you will see that this is the case for Ginger Snaps Unleashed. I'm actually using Ginger from, I picked up the wrong case. But we're talking about Ginger from Ginger Snaps versus Okay, so let me stress here, I'm not comparing these films. I've reviewed Ginger Snaps. Check out my thoughts on this superb, seminal, classic werewolf movie. It's practically perfect. But it's fair to say that Ginger fares a whole lot better in human form as the curse takes hold. The powers and the control she gets are in human form, and the control she loses when she's a werewolf. She can be bested by her little sister in this, and it's fair to say I don't. Whilst she's not the most lethal of creatures, and whilst Cursed is trash, at the very least, the werewolf in it is lethal. So Cursed wins. These bouts are going to have to be quick. So if you scream at me in the comments, but I don't think anyone can really argue that the werewolf in Cursed wouldn't tear Ginger limb from limb. But we'll move on. David Kesler in American Werewolf in London versus Benicio del Toro's The Wolfman. Now, man alive, this is actually difficult. This is really difficult. He is lethal. Say what you will about the film, but the Del Toro Wolfman is on 2 legs, runs on 4 legs. He is animalistic, but there is a human mind behind it, whereas David Kesler is pure animal instinct and just a little mini tank of muscle. Oh man, this is a tough bout, and do you know what? Whichever one I go through, there are people screaming and saying that the other werewolf would win. To be honest, I think they would tear absolute chunks of people. This one, we can see him bite off a policeman's head in one bite. This one, he's tearing off arms and legs all over the place. So given that they've both got werewolf powers, it does seem to me that with the werewolf powers evening out, it would still be a little like a really strong man fighting a bear, and the bear would... We have to move on. David Kesler wins. It's my decision. American Werewolf in London wins. The werewolf in that is a fucking double hard bastard, but I can't take all day over this. The Wolves from Dog Soldiers versus... Okay, Late Phases, for some reason called Night of the Wolf over here. This will be another a quick one. We've got a well-organised family pack that have been hunting and killing for years against one dude who eats dogs and occasionally old age pensioners, and then when he gets one sniff of a fight, turns a load of those pensioners into werewolves to try and fight on his behalf. This wolf is getting torn to pieces by the Scottish wolves in Dog Soldiers. The end. And the final first round fight then sees the Werewolves from the Howling versus, and I can't remember what the last one is. Oh, of course it is. Oh. Larry Talbot, the original Wolfman. Oh crap. Okay. Right. Taking into account the fact that the violence had to be implied in these movies rather than shown doesn't take away from the fact that this werewolf is lethal. These wolves, a pack of these wolves, are consistently fought off at the end by a guy with a rifle. Halfway through the movie, a woman manages to fight off a werewolf unarmed until she gets a hatchet and chops his hand off. Eddie Quist stands there and just transforms for hours. You could really just run away. And whilst at the start of the movie it's suggested that Eddie Quist had a very successful career as a serial killer, it's quite obvious that he's picking on the weak and vulnerable, whereas the Wolfman in this movie especially in this movie, is presented as the only force, the only viable force that could even go up against a Frankenstein creature in a toe-to-toe fight. So I'm really sorry, Howling fans, but if you actually think about quite how powerful the Wolfman is, the original Wolfman, then he's going to tear through these like butter. Even though you don't see him tearing throats out and stuff like this in the movie, he goes toe to toe with the Frankenstein creature. He's practically unstoppable. So, semi-finals then for all the groups. Group A semi-final: Company of Wolves versus the Underworld Werewolves. This is an easy one because the Company of Wolves werewolves are largely fairy tale metaphors, whereas the Underworld werewolves are huge WWE style monsters. The Underworld pack would tear through the Alsatian pack, no problem whatsoever. They'd use their bones to pick their teeth with at the end. Underworld goes through to the three-way final. David Kesler from American Werewolf in London versus the bird-flipping werewolf from Cursed. Literally the only thing you remember about the werewolf from Cursed is that no matter how many times you've seen the movie, you think it's Joshua Jackson, and then the werewolf flips the bird. And that's not enough to go up against the American Werewolf in London. I'm sorry, David Kesler wins and makes it through to the final. Which leaves us with difficult. The Wolfman versus the family of Scottish wolves from Dog Soldiers. They have a gameplay. It depends. Are these wolves ever going to leave their territory? If Larry Talbot walks into these guys' territory where they know the land and they know everything, I suggest, controversially, that these guys could put this dog down. We're putting Dog Soldiers through. So it's going to be a three-way final. It's going to be the Werewolves from Underworld and David Kesler and the Werewolves from Dog Soldiers. I would suggest the bout would go something like this. I'm just pulling this straight off the top of my head. But I think the two packs would essentially tear strips out of each other. I don't think David Kesler would charge in. He's pure animal. These are werewolves essentially with human brains inside them, and I just cannot see a wild animal charging into a melee fight like this. I think these guys and these guys would strip each other's numbers right down, and then Kesler would come in at the end and fight whoever's left. Now, it does seem like American Werewolf is charging through to an inevitable win again, but it is not. He's not going to come out victorious in this fight. The self-same reason that kept him in abeyance at first, he's purely wild animal. There is no thought, there's only instinct. And ultimately, whoever's surviving this, the ability to use tactics, higher brain functions and the like, are going to win out overall. Ultimately, the Underworld werewolves have the numbers against the Dog Soldiers werewolves. It's just going to be such a long, drawn-out slog. I really don't think whoever wins ultimately in the end is essentially going to win. But we do know that the Underworld creatures have been living for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, some of them, so they must have amazing regeneration powers. So I think they would slowly wear the Dog Soldiers down, and with severely depleted numbers, it just seems that the strength of numbers alone have seen these werewolves through to the very end. Although, in a shock twist, you're going to hate me for this. This is the only guy that comes back from the dead on multiple occasions. So I would suggest to old school horror fans that whilst these guys appear to have won the fight, you can never ever really say that Larry Talbot is dead and he might just come back. Is that a cheat? Is that a cheat, knocking him out and then saying I don't know. Tell me what you think. And remember, it's not your favourite werewolf movie, it's the most powerful werewolf. I just think numbers, tactics, resources, they're practically, if centuries of tooled up vampires can't stop them, what will? But can you ever really say, really truly say, that you've killed this one for good? It's a controversial one. Let me know what you think.